It's green for go. They're racing.
He says go.
He says ta-da.
And Tiger Tara roars away from them on the home turn.
Here comes another big boil over.
Equine athleticism at its best. The king is in the castle once more.
This is in one race. The rest are almost in another postcode.
She is a star with a capital S.
It's going to be a triple treat, a miracle three-peat. Ladies and gentlemen, you have witnessed history here at Menangle. What about that?
It's getting right up on the sprint lane and it's going to bolt in.
Hello and welcome in to the Sunday session. My name is Greg Hayes. This podcast is part of the Sprint Lane series for Harness Racing New South Wales, and it is great to have your company. When I was growing up, the Inter-Dominion was the pinnacle of the sport. The Inter-Dominion doesn't just crown a champion, it forges legends. A grueling battle of speed, stamina and willpower. We're talking racing royalty. Horses like Cardigan Bay, Hondo Grattan, Gamma Light, Our Savancelot, Blacks Are Fake. It is the race series where careers are defined, reputations are made, and where history writes itself in dust and glory. Over recent years, the series has been reshaped and reinvented with several format changes, and even questions have been asked about its place in a changing landscape for the sport. Purists argue it's lost some of the mystique. Traditionalists missed the three heats, yet through the evolution, one truth remains. When the best horses line up, the Inter-Dominion delivers. When the pressure is on, the champions rise, the rivalries ignite, and when the dust settles, there's no disputing the winner. I think it's fair to say the Inter-Dominion doesn't just test the best, it finds them. The debate has raged all week in the lead-up to Saturday night's race. Where does Leap to Fame sit in the modern list of champions? His domination of feature racing in recent memory has been brutal. While he might not possess point-to-point speed of some, what he does possess is the ability to run from one point to another point over and over again without slowing, something that his rivals just can't do. Yes, the 2025 Inter-Dominion final became a procession after he worked his way to the front and then marched away from his rivals to win his second at Albion Park. But it is his dominance that makes rivals duck and weave when he comes knocking. If he wasn't as good as he is, rivals wouldn't be forced into handing him the lead over the marathon trip. I described Leap to Fame last week as the apex predator of the sport. If in the animal kingdom, the lion, the tiger, the polar bear, the orca, and the great white shark, they all sit at the very top of the food chain, and that's exactly where Leap to Fame sits in harness racing. Plenty of people have come out and put it on record that he's the best they've seen. Fred Hastings, who's been the voice of harness racing in New South Wales for more than 15 years, was the first I can remember labelling him, and there have been a number to do that since. I've said a few times on this podcast, Leap to Fame is one of the main reasons I jumped back into the media. I wanted to talk about him and talk to the people around him. Having a look at some of the beaten horses last night in the Inter-Dominion final, Speak the Truth finished second. Smart drive by Nathan Dawson to go forward and wait for Leap to Fame to come. Great training effort by Shannon Price to get two into the final, and a really good result for the family. They put plenty of money into the industry, so the rewards are well deserved. Sia Art flashed home along the inside for third. Great story, this one. Hard to believe this horse has only won a couple of races since he arrived in Australia. He was beaten at a very short quote in the Young Cup in 2023. That was part of the Carnival of Cups, and I was at that meeting. And that was his debut run in the country, and Max Delight beat him. He was trained by Jason Grimson at the time. So his wins in Australia, he won the Shirley Turnbull Memorial in 2023. He won a race at Menangle for Grimson and Jack Callaghan in 2024. But since has been purchased by Alicia Gallagher, Josh's wife. 0 wins. However, after banking $100,000 last night, has now won more than $150,000 for Alicia. Well done to them. Don Hugo looked to have his chance finishing fourth. He sat 3 marker pegs. Max Delight, his honest self, trying his guts out late for fifth. Pete said so, got into 6th spot. The Trotters Inter-Dominion was won by Chris Venozio and RC Phoenix. I said before the series started it was extremely open and the barriers might decide it. And that's exactly what happened. RC Phoenix burrowed through to lead. Bet and Win squeezed in behind him for the gun run on the leader's back. And after that, there wasn't a lot of action. After the race, it was reported Bet and Win threw his shoe, which unbalanced him. And you could see when the speed went on in the home straight, he was spinning his wheels. Once Bob Butt balanced him up late, he flew through and held second. Oscar Bonavina sprouted wings for third. Gus coming from the rear to finish fourth. Svenozio is one of the nicest blokes in the industry you'll meet, loves his trotters, has had great support from Duncan McPherson and others, and it was great to see Chris win a big race like the Inter-Dominion. Rubira won the Derby for the Purdens. Hesitate for Luke McCarthy was second. Drums are beating about Hesitate getting a berth in the Eureka, but to be fair, he looked to have every chance to run down Rubira in the straight, but the Kiwi just had the perfect run in front. New South Wales can sort of claim the Oaks with a relocated Mick Stanley winning with Luke McCarthy in the sulky. Luke has got a great record in the Queensland Oaks, and he was forced to produce some of that old McCarthy magic to ensure he got the right run behind the leader. New South Wales did win the Golden Girl, with I Keep Smiling winning for McCarthy and, of course, Success Stud's Jackie Gibson. Interesting to read after the race that the win bought I Keep Smiling another season of racing, and you can understand why. She's just better than her female rivals at the moment, and it makes sense to keep her going for another 12 months. Well done to James Herbertson on winning the Young Drivers' Championship that goes hand in hand with the Inter-Dominion Series. Had James on the program earlier in the year after the passing of Greg Sugars. James is a lovely bloke and deserves all the accolades he receives. Jet Turnbull did New South Wales very proud, running third. Jet also celebrated his 18th birthday during the week. So a very young fella. Happy birthday to one of the brightest young stars in the sport in the state. I get the feeling, just going back to James Herbertson for a minute, I think he will be off chasing the bright lights of the USA sooner rather than later. I haven't heard anything, but he had a great trip over there recently. He enjoyed some success, and it makes sense for him to follow over in the footsteps in the likes of Andrew Todd McCarthy to the USA. Wouldn't be surprised to see James over there in a couple of years' time making a mountain of money, just like Andrew, Todd and Dexter do now. Closer to home, at Menangle, the stars of the show were trainer Chris Judd and driver Pete McRae. The pair combined for a double, and both should be proud of their efforts on the night. Plenty of racing news outside of the big night in Queensland, but I'll save up some of that for later in the podcast. Who's on the podcast today? Well, it makes sense to get Grant Dixon on after his win in the Inter-Dominion with Leap to Fame. I think it's fair to say Grant shied away from the media spotlight early in his career, but has improved throughout and is now a lot more comfortable than he was. It was great for Grant to make himself available for the podcast, but I also want to catch up with Pete McRae and have a chat to him about the Metro Double. So plenty to talk about this week. First up, it's Grant Dixon.
He's in full flight. What a sight. Leap to Fame at the top of the lane. Leap to Fame getting clear. Margin 7 metres. Speak the truth. They enter the home running. Leap to Fame. He's got them again. More Inter-Dominion glory. Leap to Fame forever lives in the Hall of Fame. A modern day champion becomes racing royalty. Leap to Fame. Speak the truth. Photo third. Seard or Don Hugo.
Leap to Fame, he is now the Southern Hemisphere's richest pacer. His record is simply amazing with victory after feature victory. Saturday night, he added another Inter-Dominion to his resume when he raced away from his rivals. His trainer-driver, Grant Dixon, continues to do an amazing job with the horse. The pressure would be untold. When you're in charge of a horse like Larry, there are a lot of expectations, not the least being the large crowd that comes out to watch. But Grant's been so good with the media during this series in regards to his time and the access to the champ. And on Sunday morning after the event, Grant's joined me to have a chat about the Inter-Dominion victory. Congratulations, mate. Well done.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it.
Mate, serious question. Is there a fair bit of relief now for you and Trista after that win? On his home track with the harness racing world watching on, was it relief that you were able to get the job done?
Yeah, it is. Obviously it looked on paper his race to lose, so I think it adds a little bit more pressure. Tristan and I, very, very relieved and super proud of him, that's for sure.
A second Queensland Inter-Dominion, Barrier 1, I guess the biggest hurdle for you. Did you go in with a plan to try and get off straight away?
Oh, look, initially I was just going to leave the gate as quick as I could and then just see how it panned out. But, as soon as we left the gate, that pretty much had me. So I just had to, sort of work away off the fence from there and then, just see how they wait for them to sort themselves out. And then hopefully when I went up, that they were going to hand over to him.
The camera angle they give you watching at home is a fantastic angle, and we could see you moving out. You've obviously got to be careful in that situation that you're getting out cleanly. Did you have any question that you were going to be able to get away from the inside?
Oh, look, it was never going to be easy, but obviously with a few of them going a bit quick early for that first dip, and just able to just sneak off there just without causing any trouble.
Once you found the front, did you think it was lights out for the rest?
Oh, look, yeah, you probably never sort of think that when you're going. You just want, obviously you've got to keep going along and just going through your motions in the run and making sure Larry's happy and relaxed and just poking along at a nice tempo. And yeah, I don't know, I sort of never think you pass the post until you're there. That's for sure. I don't like to sort of let them thoughts enter my mind until we get there. That's for sure. I don't like when people even talk before the race like as if he's won. I'd like to avoid that sort of thing.
How is he travelling inside the final lap?
Really good. He relaxed nice and come back to me, and then just rode along good. And then I just said to him, we're quickening up a bit now, and then he just quickens up a bit, and then around that corner, so we better get going now, and then he just quickens up again. So then he just goes through the line. He's just truly an amazing animal to drive and such an intelligent racehorse. Could
you hear the roar of the crowd on the track when you were turning for home? Because the crowd, I've seen videos, the crowd just went ballistic when you dashed away. Yeah, well, they actually give him a cheer every lap, so it was quite exciting. That it's quite amazing to have a horse that everyone's they're all cheering for him, even though he's $1.05 or whatever he is. That they're so much behind him. It's quite an honour to be part of Larry's career. After the win, what was the feeling like? Was it different the second time around?
No, it's just honestly the initial thing is relief that that Tristan and I got the job done, and just relief is probably your first emotion that you feel.
Brittany Graham was out there doing pre-race interviews, and she doesn't miss a beat. And as the gate went into position, she mentioned there's a little bit more tape on the horse than normal. Was that just precautionary?
Yeah, he just had when we were working him on Tuesday, had a bit of a buck in training, and he actually just clipped his heel. So we just been looking after that and kept that covered, but it was never an issue. But yeah, it was just something he does always have a bit of a buck, but he rarely ever clips himself anywhere. It's just something that he, as trainers know, if something's going to go wrong, it'll be big race week, that's for sure. But it was nothing really of note.
How did he pull up after the race?
It seemed really well. Yeah, well, obviously there was a little bit until we got to do his heart and that, but he was really bright, and Trista put him out in the paddock this morning. She was happy how he was. So happy he can have a little bit of a freshen up now while we just work out his next targets.
Is it truly a 50-50 split in terms of the work and time that you and Trista are doing with the horse at home, or is it more Trista, or is it more you?
Oh, look, it's probably just 50-50. Trista does so much with him on the ground, and she brings him in every afternoon and looks after him then, and then does everything on the ground in the morning, and then she hops on him through random times through his campaign just to make sure that he feels as good as last time that she sat behind him and that. So just to sort of just keep a good eye across things all the time. So she can be away from you and call out to him, and he lifts his head and looks to where she is. They've actually got a bit of a bond.
Kevin Seymour has said after the race that he'd love to go to New Zealand for the New Zealand Cup, so I'm assuming that's on the agenda. Obviously things have got to go right, and there's a fair bit of time between now and then, but is that the initial thought?
We're just obviously going to put up a bit of a sheet where what's available, and just how much is involved to get into each place. It's obviously a fairly big trip getting to New Zealand. It's probably easy to get to the North Island than it is the South, as everyone knows. But we'll just sort of note out what's available and what's what we can fit in within reason, and then sort of go from there with him, and obviously just how he does pull up over the next couple of weeks to how much rest he will need.
Do you think he's going to make a fantastic stallion when you and Kevin decide to call his career at a close?
Oh, look, I sort of don't really want to think about that too much personally. Tristan and I are keen to keep racing him as long as he's fit and healthy and performing at top level. I think Kevin and Kay are on board with that. I no reason why I don't think he will make a great stone, because he's got great pedigree, and to be fair, you probably can't really fault him too much as a racehorse. He's got great gait, great manners and stuff. So, yeah, if he could, throw horses as half as good as himself, he'd make a great stallion. But yeah, I just sort of obviously just stay focused on his racing career as long as we can, and just to try and sit back and try and enjoy him.
Has I know a couple of times during his career there's been rumoured trips about taking him to the States and stuff like that. Is that all off the table now?
Yeah, I don't think there's any chance of him going to America. I don't really see the point in it myself. Chance his arm of getting sick and that, and I don't really know whether he'd actually earn that much more money over there. And be fair, even though I know he'd run super miles over there, but he does revel in the extra distance in races. So I think he's more suited to Australian racing.
Okay, and will we see him back here for a Miracle Mile? Do you think if everything goes well next year?
I think we'd probably be a pretty good chance. Yeah, because obviously it's a great race, and race for great money. So I definitely I'm sure it'll be one that we'll pencil in, that's for sure.
I mentioned at the top, he becomes the Southern Hemisphere's richest pacer. Does that mean something to you, or it's just another accolade he picks up on the way through? Is that something that you and Kevin have been targeting, or not really?
No, like for the horse himself, I'm super proud of the fact that he's earned that right, especially over the greats that he got past. I was actually enough to run into one of Black Folks' owners last night, and she was just so pleased that I trained the horse that actually got past Black Folks' mark. So it was quite nice for her to say. So I'm super proud of the fact that that he's achieved that milestone, and it's quite a task to be able to do it, because obviously they are just both super champions, Mighty Quinn and Black Safari.
And what is it like when you hear rival horsemen saying, this is the best horse that I've ever seen? I know Anthony Butt was quoted during the week coming out and saying he's the best I've seen. What do you get out of that? Hearing your peers come out and say that the horse is the best they've seen.
Yeah, it is quite like a pinch yourself moment that you're fortunate enough to, be a part of one of the all-time greats. Really, it's quite amazing. Really, it really is. And obviously, the people that say you got so much respect for them too. So you really value their opinion.
Well, mate, congratulations on another Inter-Dominion. Congratulations on everything the horse has achieved. We look forward to seeing him so much more on the Australian and New Zealand racetracks. All the best of luck going forward.
Thanks very much, Greg. Cheers.
First into the home running now is It's Confidential over Jillaby Fabio. Just Roll Your Own, Red Reactor. The leader is still It's Confidential, but Jillaby Fabio and Just Roll Your Own are closing in very, very quickly now, where Jillaby Fabio moves up on the outside. Jillaby Fabio hits the lead, and here's a rare driving Metro double for Pete McRae and also Chris Jardin down to the line. It's been too good for them.
It was Inter-Dominion night, but there was still plenty of action in Sydney at Menangle, and a man who dominated the early part of the program was Pete McRae, a Metropolitan driving double. We don't see Pete too often in the city. He normally stays pretty close to the Riverina, but it was great to see him up in Sydney winning races, and he's joining me to have a chat. Hey, Pete, how are you?
Well, thanks, Greg. How are you?
Mate, really well. Congratulations on what was a great night for you at Menangle.
Yeah, it really was. It was a bit on the surprise side, but it was a very good night, and enjoyed it.
So when did you know that you were going to be making the trip to Sydney to drive these horses for Chris?
On last Sunday, a week ago, when we knew Cam and Will were heading up to Queensland, so he gave us a call, and I got the role.
And was it a decision that you had to think about, or was it as soon as the opportunity was there, you were going to take it?
Oh, no. I was always going to head up. I actually own a share in one of the horses that he trained, so he sort of gave me the option to come up and give him a steer. So, I was always going to come up.
Well, the first leg of your winning double was Alta William, and you had to produce a little bit of magic with him. Drew wide, and you didn't get the easiest drive in the early stages.
No, Greg, he was probably wasn't on his best behaviour going up to the mobile, but he sort of, once he got on a helmet, he settled quite well. Ended up in not too bad of a position really at the start. Full fence, it's pretty good really. But no, everything went our way really with him, and we sort of got the gaps at the right time, but he still had to be good enough to do the job, and he really let down well in the straight.
That horse previously with Blake and Ellen and did a lot of its racing in the Riverina. Had you competed against it previously? Did you know it well?
Yeah, I knew it quite well, Greg. I'm good friends with Blake and Ellen Jones, and they had a fair opinion of the horse, and he's owned and bred down in the Riverina here by the Heath family, and I knew the horse very well, and Blake's always had a fair opinion of him. He raced through the Tab Regionals and the championships down here against some quality horses. So no, we always knew he'd go to the city, and in his grade he'd do not a bad job up there.
And once you got to the top of the straight, what were you thinking? Did you think you were a winning chance?
Once all the gaps came and the openings arose, I knew he's a very good horse from behind. He was let down quite well, so I knew I was pretty confident sort of as the gaps came. That's for sure.
So that was the first leg. Then the second winner was in the very next race again for Chris, driving Jillaby Fabio, who showed tremendous gate speed.
Yeah, it was very rewarding, this win with Little Farms. I've had a fair bit to do with this horse as a young horse, and before he moved up to Chris's stable, and he's electric off the gate. He's got that's his best asset. He can just light up and get into a good position early, and he's a little trier. He just digs in so hard up the straight, and he's on his best last night. That's for sure.
So once you showed that good early speed, you were happy to let one go and just follow a helmet.
Yeah. Well, I've driven him pretty similar like that back here in Wagga when he was sort of coming up as a 3-year-old and that, and I just knew with the long straight at Menangle, he sort of get into his work quite well, and I knew that he'd be in the top 2 if we could get the right run. That's for sure. And
he obviously, turning for home, you looked like you had a lap full of horse. Did you have to get think a little bit before you came out, thinking it was such a long straight you didn't want to get there too early?
I was a little bit mindful. He was travelling quite strong, and as you said, it's a very long straight up there, and you can't be there too early. You can get sort of left a bit of a shot duck if you're out there in front too soon. So I was a bit mindful with that, but no, he's a good little horse. He's done a great job, and the owners are stoked. So they do a lot around the Riverina here, and with sponsorships and that. So old Tommy, he does a great job.
You mentioned that that association you had with the horse as he was coming through. You actually drove him at Menangle in that Simpson Memorial. Now he finished down the track. He was 100-1 shot, but prior to that, he'd put a couple of wins together. You'd driven him on those 2 occasions. So you have had an affinity that goes back a fair way with the horse. Yeah.
I drove him as an early 3-year-old, and as time's gone on, he's had to go up through his grades and that, so I probably haven't driven him as much. But I've had a bit to do with him, and it's really rewarding to see how good he's going now. That's for sure.
So with those horses both getting through into the final, do you keep the drive on one of them?
I haven't really spoke to Chris too much about it. I was just happy, warming the seats for the boys up there in Queensland. But I'll probably talk to Chris a bit more about it tomorrow and just see what him and the owners want to do. But it doesn't really worry me too much, Greg. I was just happy to come up and have the opportunities.
Mate, the other drives you had on the night, if someone had told you before the meeting last night that you were going to drive 2 winners on the program, you probably would have thought they were the last 2 drives you were going to have, not the first 2. But Pete McRae, he just didn't look a happy horse.
No, he wasn't. No, Chris just put a little bit more hanging gear on his inside, and he just sort of never wasn't happy from the get-go. He sort of run off a little bit and just got out of square. He's sort of a horse that doesn't need any sort of excuse like that. He's got a lot of ability, but he just doesn't need an excuse to do something wrong. So, but no, it was a bit disappointing. He sort of finished off really well, but yeah, anyway, that's racing. You got to take the good with the bad.
And what about invitation only in race number 5?
Yeah, we're sort of a little bit disappointed with him, but I'm sure Chris and Cam will figure him out in the future. He sort of just didn't really travel all that keen, and wasn't all. Once he got to the front, he sort of switched off, and just he sort of stargazing a bit. He just wasn't all that interested in being out there.
Mate, you're only 28, not yet 30. Have you ever thought about making that full-time move to the city? Obviously, Cam did it a number of years ago now and has had great success. Was it ever something you thought about?
Not really, Greg. I've sort of, got everything sort of set in stone where I am here in Junee. I've got everything pretty well down here, so I really enjoy what I'm doing at the moment, and I don't sort of have that interest anytime soon. That's for sure.
So, full-time driver. What do you have an outside job? What's the Pete McRae story?
Yeah, I work full time for Rod Woodhouse. He's been a massive supporter of mine for the last 5-6 years, and I work for him full time on his property, and just do a bit of freelance driving throughout the week, mainly for Trevor White nowadays, and just a few other trainers that need a driver around here.
And you can normally, you bank your 50 winners most years, so you get a number of opportunities down there in the Riverina.
Yeah, I've been very lucky the last handful of years, that's for sure, Greg. I've had a lot of trainers that have supported me, and stuck with me for a long time. Pete Romero and, Carter Phelps, and, a lot of Victorian trainers even have stuck with me when they come up. So, no, I've had a lot of support, and, I wouldn't be able to achieve a lot of the success I've had without them, that's for sure.
And, of course, you've got that Group 1 victory next to your name?
Yeah. It's that was really the only success I've had at Menangle until last night. But yeah, I've got the Group 1, and I've got a Group 3 there as well. So I've been pretty lucky like that.
So what's the plans this week? Obviously, you said you'll have a chat to Chris during the week to see whether you're back next week, or I'm assuming that you'll be in action some stage this week.
I think I've only got Wagga this week on Friday. I'll give Young a miss this week, but I've been travelling last week, so I've just got to have a bit of a quiet week this week, and back to Wagga, and I'm not 100% sure about Menangle yet.
Well, mate, congratulations. Always good to see good people driving plenty of winners, and you picked up your first Metro double, so congratulations on that, and good luck going forward.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Appreciate it.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Winning. Hey, that's pretty good.
Winner!
That was legitness.
To that I say, all right. Wow, winning.
Bam! Just like that. That's all there is to it, Dustin. That's all there is to it. A winner! Just like that.
And the winner is...
Well, before we get into the tips this week and talk of winners, I can say the winners this week are the fans of harness racing in New South Wales, with the confirmation of dates for the Carnival of Cups in 2025-26, and also the acts who will star and be the star of the show off the track on night 1 of the Carnival. So the dates for the Carnival of Cups: Wagga on November 14. 2 weeks later, November 28, it's Newcastle's turn. The 30th of January is the Bathurst meeting. A fortnight later after that, it's Albury, so that's the 13th of February. They're all Friday nights. And then Penrith on March 21 is the Metro Regional Championship final. That's a Saturday. Now, the music acts for Wagga. How good's this? Ian Moss is headlining. Firstly, of course, in Cold Chisel. And then he went out on his own, and he had some great hits, including Tucker's Daughter. You'll hear them all. He'll be supported by the Super Jesus. And the third of the big acts will be 1927. They were huge when I was a kid. I think I had the Ish album. Might have had a couple of copies of that. So they'll be great. And then you've got the local support acts as well, Nathan Lamont and the Mighty Yak. So great night of racing on and off the track. Now, in regards to finding winners, Mr. T didn't. I found one, but It paid $1.30. Mr. T's minus $94. I found She's a Warrior. We paid $1.30, so I'm negative 59. Mr. T's 2 tips, both at Bathurst. Race 4, number 2, He's Chiming. I think Mr. T has tipped this horse so many times, and it's been beaten, he would have been better off claiming the horse. Jai Coney takes the drive for Nathan Turnbull. Actually cracked it for a win on July 9, and Mr. T didn't tip it, but Mr. T thinks it can go back to back. So that's race 4, number 2, He's Chiming. And his second tip comes up in race 6, and that is number 8, My Ultimate Franco for Cam Hart and Jared Alchin. Had the 1 run, blitzed them at Newcastle, and despite the wide draw, Mr. T thinks it can go 2 from 2. So they're his 2 for the week, both at Bathurst Wednesday, race 4, number 2, race 6, number 8. I'm going to go to Menangle Monday, and my first is race 5, number 10, Will I Am, driven way too aggressively last start. That 26-3 first quarter put paid to it. Can get the job done when it rolls to the front and doesn't spend so much petrol. Hope it can float across and get the lead, back the speed off, and then sprint them up the straight. And race 6, number 4, Took a Half for Christy O'Sullivan and Dean Sinovskis. Thought the horse was the winner 3 runs ago at Wagga when it peaked on the home turn and Onyx Shard fought back to beat it. Led and looked to have its chance 2 starts ago and then did too much work last time out. Looking for a nice trip. The horse is racing well and it can win with the right run. Fantasy harness racing going into the last meeting at Launceston tonight. Boilover leads by 26 points over Manning 90. Sir Jimmy's All-Stars can't catch the first 2, but is third, some 26 points in front of What a Fill-Up. I'll pass on the final result in next week's podcast. Dragon Lady leads round 25 with that 1 meeting to go on 748 points, 2 points in front of Paddy B and Caffeinated. So the final round still up for grabs. Congratulations to all of the prize winners in this year's season of fantasy harness racing. Before I wrap up, I want to pass on my condolences to the family of Chris Garrard, OAM, who passed away during the week, an amazing supporter for harness racing in Australia and New Zealand, and of course his family is well and truly involved in the industry. Chris was a third-generation horseman born in New South Wales in Mullumbimby, and of course is the man behind Garrard's Horse and Hound, which he established back in 1985. He was president at Redcliffe, patron and life member. He served on the board at Albion Park. He was a life member there too. Huge hole to fill for the family and the industry, and it was nice to see Angus Garrard salute to the sky when he won a race during the week. So condolences go out to the Garrard family. And I do want to give Jason Turnbull a rap. Not often Jason's driving multiple winners at a meeting. Jason and I of similar age, and I've spent some time with Jason off the track, and it was good to see him drive 3 winners at Parks on Friday night, and a couple of them at good odds as well. So well done to Jason. That just about wraps up the podcast for another week. We turn our attention from the Interdominion back to the Eureka next week, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see 1 or 2 slot holders try and nail down their runner in the next week or so. I'd say there will be plenty to talk about this time next week. Hope you've enjoyed the podcast this week. Big thanks to Grant Dixon and also Pete McRae for joining me on the show. Have a great week, but it's bye for now.